All right, so welcome to your Hatha practice. We'll begin on our backs in Shavasana. If you'd like to take a prop along the length of the spine, a blanket or a couple of blocks underneath the shoulder blades, underneath the head, feel free to do that. Let the arms wide and open. And the knees can be bent or straight, just depending on how your low back feels today. So we'll hang out in Shavasana or supported Shavasana for a few minutes. So start to settle in. And if you're on a prop, can get a mild, nice chest opener there. Okay. So make some small adjustments as you need to feel more supported and relaxed in this posture. And then allow your body to be still as you begin to scan the body for any sensitivities, limitations that you'd like to be sensitive to today. So our option for a quote unquote peak pose today, if you will, is chakrasana, which is wheel pose. And you don't have to do it. It's your choice if it's appropriate for you today. And yet, throughout the practice, we'll be doing preparatory work towards that to kind of open the front body or get some space, I should say, in the front body and a little containment along the back body there. And begin to notice your breath. It may have already started to smooth and even and find a natural pace. Allow the breath to move in and out of the nose. And the chest becomes more and more quiet and the belly is soft. And then finally take note of the mind today, noticing the quality and or the pace of your thoughts, fast or slow, distracted or focused. And take those bits of information about the body, the breath, and the mind, and kind of set them off to the side to come back to as we move through our practice today. So last 2 or 3 breaths here. Again, the breath is smooth, shoulder blades relaxing. And then if you do have a prop underneath the body, go ahead and bend the knees, place the feet flat to the floor, and gently roll to one side to move that prop out of the way, and we'll come back onto our mats. Lying flat on your mat, legs out long. And go ahead and stretch the arms up and overhead and reach the heels away. You can pull the toes up towards you and then point the toes. And pull the toes back towards you and point them. And then keep the feet flexed as you extend through the right heel and the right arm, stretching, lengthening along the right side of the body. And then soften the right side and lengthen through the left side of the body. And just back and forth a few times. Get some length along sides of the body here. Keep that breath nice and easy, and then stretch through both arms and both legs. And feel the natural curves along the spine, right? So you'll feel the hips and maybe the upper back on the floor, but notice what's not touching the floor. And be prepared to honor those curves today. And then the next time you exhale, draw one knee in towards the chest and hug around that knee with the hands. And then as you inhale, extend long again, reach the arms and the legs away from each other. And then as you exhale, other knee comes into the chest and inhale to stretch long. And keep going just like that. And notice when you bring a knee in that the low back will start to flatten towards the floor. Absolutely normal. Just noticing that sensation as you move in and out of the posture. And then the next time you draw the right knee in towards the chest, go ahead and hug it in, remain there, keep the breath nice and easy, and soften the shoulder blades back and down. Draw that knee in any amount, but keep softening the shoulders, the back of the head. And notice if you feel anything along the front of that straight leg. Keep that breath as easy as you can. If you decide, your choice, to hover that left leg just above your floor. Notice what engages in the body. Welcome to lift the upper body here. Look towards your toes. Press the navel into the low back, into the floor. And then keep that easy breath as you maybe release the arms in line with that straight leg. Nice. And then release the head and that straight leg. Pull that right knee in one more time. And then release arms and legs away from each other. Press the low back down as much as you can now. Press the top or the front ribs down. And then on your next exhale, bring that left knee in towards the chest. And just take a moment to soften. So soften the jaw, soften the outer shoulders. Keep that breath easy as you can, as maybe you hover your right leg just above the mat, flattening the low back to the floor. Maybe you lift the upper body, and taking at least a breath or two in each of these options so that you notice what's happening, not just mindlessly moving into postures. And then if you choose, of course, to release the arms. Nice. And then release, upper body back down, right leg back down, hug that left knee into the chest. Nice. And then stretch long one more time. Reach, reach, reach. And then we'll walk the legs over to the left, the feet over to the left side of your mat, and then slide the upper body over to the left as well. You can grab a wrist here. You can grab opposite elbows. We're just looking to get a little bit of length again in that right side. Soften that right shoulder, right elbow back and down. And then release the legs back to center, upper body back to center. Take a moment. And then walk the legs, the feet to the right, and then slide the upper body to the right as well. And even allow the breath to move into that space, into the left side body. Walk the legs back to center, upper body back to center, and then release the arms down by the sides. Bend the knees, place the feet flat to the floor. And as you inhale, exaggerate that low back curve. So let the belly be soft. And then as you exhale, press the low back down, engage the low belly pelvic floor. So some simple pelvic tilt as you inhale, tilt the pelvis, lift the low back. And as you exhale, gather the belly as you press the low back down. So just 3 to 5, maybe 6 times like that. Moving nice and smooth with your breath. And then the next time you engage the low belly, stay in that engagement, that tilt. You can move the shoulder blades a little closer together underneath you. Press into the feet and lift the hips into about 60, 75% maximum of your bridge, right? So not a full-on bridge yet. We're just looking to start to contain around pelvis and the hips. So squeeze the glutes here, press into the feet. And then bring the inner edges of the feet closer together. The knees might touch, they might not. Press into the backs of the arms. And as you inhale, let the knees fall away from each other. Squeeze the glutes. And as you exhale, engage the inner thighs, draw the knees back together. Inhale and exhale, draw the knees back together, engage the low belly. Last one here. And then heel toe, keep the hips lifted, heel toe the feet to about hip distance apart. Maybe squeeze the glutes a little bit more vigorously. Lift the low belly, press into the feet, and find your steady breath. And then when you're ready, lift the heels. Start to round down the spine, one vertebra at a time. Low back, tailbone comes down last. And then lower the heels to the floor. Widen your feet as wide as your mat. And just gentle sway of the knees from side to side. So any amount of heat you might have built up in that little sequence, you want to start to move that heat through the body using the breath. Nice. And then heel toe your feet back to about hip distance apart. And from here, reach the arms up and overhead. We'll interlace the fingers, release the pointer fingers. We did this last class. And bring the arms alongside the face. They don't have to come all the way to the floor. If your shoulders don't allow it, that's fine. And you can keep the knees bent as you start to press the top ribs down, the low back down, and reach through the pointer fingers. Keep the breath easy here. So you're trying to flatten the back to the floor. Maybe if you like, you can lengthen the legs long and notice what happens to the low back. Sometimes it starts to pop up again. So draw the low ribs in, press the low back down, and reach through the arms strongly, reach through the heels strongly. So it would be a pretty vigorous posture here. Let the breath be easy. So we'll be doing this standing in just a moment. Reach through the heart. And then as you exhale, release. Draw the knees into the chest. Hug them in, rock from side to side. And we'll make our way to hands and knees. You can roll, you can rock, however it makes sense. And placing the hands underneath the shoulders as you exhale, draw the navel in, round the spine. And as you inhale, soften the belly, lift the heart. So regular cat-cow here. And if you find you want to move outside the lines, that's just fine. So you might start to round and roll like you're scraping out a barrel with the ribs here. I heard some teacher the other day say about this kind of round cat-cow that you're scraping out of Ben and Jerry's pint of ice cream. Which directions if you are rolling and rounding. So just an organic cat-cow. Feel free to move forward and back, kind of feeling out how the spine is doing today. Nice. And then come back to center. Walk the hands forward about a handprint. Tuck the toes. And if you're choosing to invert today, we'll come into downward facing dog with the knees nice and bent. So knees nice and bent here. You may lift the heels. Really press into the base of the fingers. Engage the arms. And from there, push into the hands and reach the tailbone way back. So you're really, really lengthening through the spine. Nice. And then once you have that length, maybe start to pedal the feet. So the spine comes first, the whole straightening or bending the legs thing is secondary. Keep that breath smooth. And come back to center, let your heels be heavy. Bend the knees a lot. And then start to rock forward into plank pose on knees or toes. So press the floor away. Lift the low belly. Maybe a slight engagement in the glutes here. And find that easy breath. And then soften the knees, press into the hands, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Legs can be bent or straight. And so from here, we'll move into one of the 5 Tibetans. All right, so as you're ready, begin to bend the knees, send the hips back, and then straighten the legs. Start to round in the low back, mid back, upper back as you come forward into plank pose. Keeping the toes tucked, keep the belly engaged as you lower the hips towards the floor. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin, round your upper back, mid back, lower back, lift the hips, lower the heels. Nice. And so keep going just like that, rounding forward into your plank. Keep the belly engaged as you lower the hips and lift the heart into that variation of up dog. And then tucking the chin and rounding from the upper back down the body to come back to downward facing dog. So it's a very controlled movement. You can go a little quicker or a little slower, but you're always in control as you move and undulate along the spine. Okay, so we'll take about your choice. You can do one, none, or we'll take up to about 11 rounds. And once you feel complete, simply rest in child's pose. Try not to hold the breath in any way. You can always lower down the knees if that's more helpful to you. And just take one more round if you've chosen wherever you are, and we'll all meet and rest in child's pose. Arms can be down by your calves or your feet if you like. Gently rock the head from side to side and let your belly be soft. And then from here, reach your arms forward. Come back to hands and knees. We'll make our way to downward facing dog. Let's take a moment to visualize, sense, or feel the spine within the body. Any new awareness just with those few movements. Great. And then we'll lower the knees. You can keep the toes tucked or not. We're going to come into puppy pose. So walk the hands forward, a little wider than the shoulders maybe, and always engaging the low belly and inner thighs to support the movement as you lower the chest towards the floor any amount. The hips stay high. So hopefully we feel some kind of sensation along the inner arm, the armpits, maybe along the chest here. If you'd like a little bit more sensation, you can lower the elbows and begin to bring the hands together behind the head. And shimmy or slide the elbows forward as you lower the armpits to the floor. And once you've found your posture, breathe nice and easy into the back of the heart. Last breath or two here. And then release. Arms come wide, hands to the floor, walk your hands up. And we'll make our way to downward facing dog. Look forward, bend the knees. You can step, walk, or float towards the top of your mat. And forward fold. Release your head and neck. Shake your head no. Shake your head yes. And then hands to the hips, elbows draw back. Press into your feet as you lift with a nice tall spine all the way up to mountain pose at the top of your practice space. So from here, we'll take a little bit more opening in the front body as we reach the arms up and overhead. And interlace the fingers, release the pointer fingers like we did earlier. The big toes can come together if you would like. If you need a little more stability, maybe widen the feet. Okay. And just like we did on the floor in bridge pose, lift the low belly, try to draw the front ribs in and back so they're not popping out. You have a nice long line from your heels up through your pointer fingers. Okay? And then from here, we'll just take some movement from side to side. So lateral movements, like you're drawing a line with your pointer fingers on the ceiling, just tick-tocking nice and easy from side to side, really reaching up through the elbows as you press down into the feet. And once you've done an equal amount on both sides, come back to center, press into the feet, squeeze the glutes, push the pelvis forward, and lift up through the heart like you want to touch the ceiling with your pointer fingers. And the movement doesn't need to be big. Once you get into your extension, find your breath low in the body. And release. Come back to center, release your hands. Make little pincers with your hands and start to roll through the wrists as you bring the arms down by your sides. Nice, shake it out there. We're going to try that again. So reach the arms up overhead, again, feet together or apart. Interlace your fingers, release the pointer fingers, and start to draw the front ribs back. As you press into the feet, squeeze the glutes. Push the pelvis forward and lift up. So thinking of length rather than moving back. Find your breath. And then release. Look straight ahead. Make those pincers with the hands as you start to roll through the wrists and release the arms down. Nice. Hands to heart center, mountain pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lengthen. Step your right foot back, knee comes down. And reach the arms up and overhead for that low lunge. Release the hands to the floor, step back, plank pose, and back to downward facing dog. Forward, back knee down. Reach the arms up and overhead. And then hands to the floor, step up, and forward fold. Rise to stand, touch the sky. And hands come to heart center, mountain pose. Inhale, moving that heat through the body, reach up. Exhale, tuck the chin, forward fold. Lift halfway, step your left foot back, knee comes down. Come, inhale, reach the arms and torso up. Exhale, plant your hands, come to plank pose. And back to downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward, back knee down. On an inhale, reach the arms up, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, plant the hands to the floor, step up, forward fold. Rise to stand, reach the arms up. Maybe interlace the fingers, release the pointer fingers. Squeeze the glutes, push the pelvis forward and get a little taller as you lean up and back. And then release the hands, heart center, mountain pose. Take a big inhale here. And an exhale. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Lift, halfway lengthen. We'll step that right foot back. And again, the knee comes down. If you'd like to have a little padding underneath the knee, then please take that. We're going to be having an option to come put a little more pressure on the knee in just a moment. All right. So we're going to take a quad stretch in preparation for some other back bends. So slide your back knee back so that you're forward of the kneecap. Okay? And let your hips drop forward. Now this may be enough. You can have the hands outside on either side of the foot, front foot, or hands inside if that gives you more space. You're welcome to bring the hands up to that front thigh and lift up. But again, lean the hips forward so you're forward of that kneecap. Low belly lifts in and up. Maybe you bring that back heel towards the seat with the hamstring working. And maybe you reach back for that foot. Turn the shoulders forward. Once you find the variation that you prefer today, go ahead and find your breath. Again, moving it low in the body. And if you're more upright and would like to release this left hand forward or towards the sky, feel free to do so. And then as you're ready, release that back foot if you had it. Place the hands back to the floor. We'll place that back foot down, turn the toes out and come to warrior two. So coming all the way up. Arms out to a T, torso over the hips. Press into that back foot. And then release your back hand to the low back to keep it nice and long. Reach that front arm towards the sky as you lean back. Bend into your front knee, so a little peaceful warrior variation. Maybe if you like, you can bring this top hand to that space between the shoulder blades or behind the neck. And really push that elbow, top elbow towards the sky. Getting a little bit of opening in that side waist. Deep breath. Push the floor away. And then come back to warrior two. Keep on circling forward into your side angle pose. So forearm to thigh or bottom hand to the floor. Reach your top arm to the sky or overhead, or over the ear, I should say. And really press into that back foot to get nice and long through that top arm. Find your breath low in the body. And we'll place this top hand to the top hip. And we're going to make our way to half moon pose. So front hand ahead of that front foot. And look where you want to go on the floor as you start to shift your weight into that front foot, front hand. And lift your back foot. And you may tap down. You may tap down and come back into it. Top hand can reach for the sky. And again, feeling that length of the spine, right? So low belly, front ribs draw in. If you'd like to take the variation of grabbing the back foot, bend that top knee, reach for that back foot, dig the foot into the hand and open the heart forward. When you're ready, release, come back into your half moon extend. Soften that front knee, come back to warrior two, nice and light. Beautiful. Cartwheel the hands to frame your front foot and step back to downward facing dog. If you'd like to take a vinyasa variation, if you'd like to rest in child's pose, feel free. We'll meet in downward facing dog. And once you make it back to down dog again, you might bend the knees, push the hips up and back to lengthen the spine, and then extend through the backs of the legs. Look forward, step that right foot forward, back knee comes down onto your blanket or the floor. And then begin to adjust. So extend through that back leg, maybe push that knee back a little bit, extend the hips forward. And hands can stay on the floor. You can take the same variation you did last time or do something different. We're not symmetrical, so you can do something different on either side and you're still a yogi, right? So lots of variations, sticking close to the floor or lifting up. Welcome to grab that back foot if it's available to you. Slight engagement in the glutes and the low belly. And then when you're ready, slowly release. Release the hands to the floor. That back foot comes to the floor and turns out. And we'll cartwheel up to warrior two. So nice, stable stance here. And then slide your back hand behind you. Reach that top arm to the sky and lean on back. Shoulders soften away from the ears. Maybe this top hand comes behind the neck or between the shoulder blades. And then find where there might be space for breath. So maybe it's along that right side. And then press back to warrior two and lean forward into your side angle pose. So keeping all that length on the underside body that you just cultivated as you lengthen through the left side. Really press the floor away with the feet as you bring that top hand to the top hip. Walk your front hand forward on the floor and start to shift your weight into half moon pose. So low back has a curve and yet there's space there, right? You're welcome to reach this top hand towards the sky or again, take the back foot. If you're holding your breath or finding some kind of issue with the breath, you need to adjust or back off or try something a little different. And then back to half moon. Soften that front knee, lightly place the back foot down to warrior two. And then we'll cartwheel the hands to frame the front foot again and step back to downward facing dog. Again, option to stay right here, to rest in child's pose, or to take a vinyasa of your choice. We'll all meet in that variation of puppy pose. So knees hip distance apart. Walk your hands forward, lower the heart. And again, welcome to take that prayer hand variation behind the heart. Big breath in, soft breath out. Then release the hands forward. We'll make our way back to table or downward facing dog. Lift your right leg back and up and step that right foot forward behind the right wrist. So a little shorter stance. Turn your back toes out. We're making our way to warrior one. So sweep the arms up and overhead. You're welcome if the pointer finger Kali Mudra option is not available to you. You're welcome to take the arms out wide. Gives a little more space and you still get that idea of the back bend. So arms up overhead or arm variation of choice. Press the floor away, squeeze the glutes. As you lift the belly, lift the heart and lean back. There's one long, beautiful line of energy from that back heel all the way up through the fingers or the top of the head. And then release, look forward, start to tilt forward. You can keep the hands as they are or choose another variation as you shift the weight forward. Lift your back foot into warrior three. Again, notice if the back is unnecessarily curving or wonky in a certain way. Can you adjust? And that breath flow in the ribs. And then as you're ready, release that back foot down. Back to warrior one. And hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Lift your left leg back and up. And then step it forward behind the left wrist. Turn the back heel down, front knee bends as you reach the arms up, warrior one. And again, find the variation of arms that help you to feel space around the front of the chest, the armpits. Press into your back foot, squeeze the glutes as you lift the belly and the heart, lean back. Shoulder blades hug, back of the heart here. Keep that smooth breath as you start to come back to center, tilt upright, and then lean forward. Heart reaches forward as you make your way to warrior three. Bend into that front knee, back foot comes lightly to the floor, reach the arms up, warrior one, and we'll make our way to downward facing dog. Nice long spine. Look forward, bend the knees, step walker, float to the top of your mat. And we'll lower the seat to the floor for a little bit of a detour into, again, one of the 5 Tibetans. So this is the jackknife one. So you'll lay down on the back and you can have the knees bent the whole time or legs straight. But we do want to intend to keep the low back pressing into the floor, okay? So as you inhale, reach the arms overhead, extend the legs long, or again, the knees can be bent. And as you exhale, pike the feet towards the sky and lift the upper body just a little bit. It doesn't need to be big. Inhale, extend long. Exhale, lift up. And then keep going. So again, this could be 1 time, 5 times, working up to about 11 or 12 times today. Nice and controlled. So could be fairly slow pace, could be a little bit more vigorous. But we want to be in control, that low back pressing down. And when you feel complete, again, about 11 rounds or so, draw the knees into the chest and let the belly release. You can rock from side to side. Big breath in, big breath out. And then from here, we'll rock and roll up and down the spine. You can certainly simply roll to one side. We're going to make our way to standing in mountain pose. Now you bond up. One simple tree pose. As you inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Again, welcome to interlace the fingers. Take that Kali Mudra. Press down into the right foot and lift that left leg. And then make your way into your tree. Foot can be high or low, really not the point. Our intention for today is to feel that long spine. Okay, so slight engagement in the glutes and the low belly to lift the rib cage off of the waist and really reach through fingers here. And if you need more of a challenge, you can look up towards your fingers, see what happens. Let yourself breathe. And then hands come to heart center and release. Shake it out. So we'll take the other side. Press down into your left foot. Draw your right knee in and up. Reach the arms overhead. And then turn that knee out and find your tree pose. So strong foundation from the bottom up. Press into the front of that bottom heel. Engage the glutes, low belly to lift up. Maybe look up. It's okay to wobble. There's always some movement and balance. It means the body's adjusting and learning. And release. Come on back down. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Lift, halfway lengthen. And then we'll step back to kneeling and standing up on the knees. So again, this might be where you'd like a blanket if the knees are a bit sensitive. Toes can be tucked or not. Okay. Another variation of the 5 Tibetans, it kind of looks like camel. Very small movement, so don't be fooled by the small movement here. So hands come at the bottom of the glutes, behind you at the bottom of the glutes. Press the floor down, squeeze the glutes. As you inhale, slightly push the pelvis forward, lift the heart, and lean the head back. And as you exhale, tuck your chin and bring the shoulders back up over the hips. So very small movement. Inhale, press down, squeeze in the lower body, lift the heart, head goes back maybe. Exhale, tuck your chin and come back forward. And keep going. Again, about 10 to 11 rounds if it's available to you. So we're getting into the entire length of the spine through this practice in big and subtle ways. And of course, if moving the neck in this way is not appropriate for you, then don't do it. You can simply work with the inner engagement and the lift of the heart. Inhaling through the movement and exhaling. Last one, we may or may not have made it to 11, that's okay. And then release. Untuck the toes, sit back on the heels, gaze down the bridge of your nose, take a big breath in and a big breath out. All right, so here's where we get to try chakrasana or wheel pose if you like. Again, other options are downward facing bow, if you like to take that, or a camel pose. So we've all practiced those together. So if wheel pose is not an option for you, we can choose a different background. You can also take bridge instead as well, okay? I'm gonna try a variation with a blanket underneath my wrist. That seemed to help me last time I practiced. So if you're joining me for bridge or wheel, come onto your back. Whatever back bend you've chosen will take about 5 breaths, okay? So if you're with me, coming back onto the back, knees bent, heels close to the seat. And if you're taking bridge pose, arms down by your side, shimmy the shoulder blades a little closer together and lift the hips and remain. Wheel pose, the wrists can be on the blanket if you've chosen that, fingers off of the blanket. And squeeze the glutes, press the pelvis up, come onto the top of the head, reorient, and then when you're ready, press on up to your wheel pose. So it's a pretty sensational pose, meaning there are a lot of things going on. So try to breathe smooth as you can. And when you're ready to come out of wheel pose, come onto the back of your head and slowly roll down. And we'll all meet on our backs here and take a moment. Hands can rest on the body or come away from the body, palms face up. And feel the heart beating. Come back to that steady breath. If you'd like to practice your back bend again, a second time, feel free to do so. Otherwise, stay with me and feel the effects of the posture. So again, we might visualize, sense, or see the length of our spine from the tailbone through the top of our head, noticing the curves. Any sensations we might feel. If you've practiced your posture back bend a second time, begin to make your way slowly out of it and rest. And when you're ready, you're on your back, heel toe the feet. Again, as wide as your mat, arms away from the body. And gentle windshield wipers from side to side. The next time the knees sway to the left, go ahead and let them stay. And press your right foot into the floor, push your right knee away from you, and maybe reach that right arm up overhead. So getting a little bit of length along the right side body. So engage that right glute to press the knee away as you reach through your right arm. Nice. Release that right arm, soften the legs now, and just let your body melt into this twist. And we'll come up and over to the other side. So bringing the knees up and over, shift your hips if you need to. Let the knees sway to the right. Squeeze that left glute to push the knee away from you as you reach your left arm up and overhead, getting a little bit of a stretch. And then soften the glute, release that left arm down, and again, let the body melt into the twist. Back to center. Draw the knees into the chest and a little bit wider for happy baby. You can circle through the ankles a few times. And then I like to grab behind the knees here and rock from side to side. Actually, my elbows get in the way, so I'll take my hands inside the knees and rock from side to side. And as you rock to the right, maybe let that right knee touch the floor as you lengthen the left leg towards the sky, getting into the hamstring, and then come back through center, massage the low back, left knee to the floor, extend that right leg towards the sky. So a little bit of balance and massage, stretch here. Come back to center, taking any variation of happy baby. So the knees are wide, you can grab for knees, ankles, shins. Let the tailbone soften, the shoulders soften, head heavy. And the belly is soft here too. So activated a lot of energy around the hips, the belly, the back. So now begin to soften in those areas, release any unnecessary tension. Last few breaths here. And coming back to center, if you have any other movements that you'd like to take for the next minute or so, maybe you'd like to take an inversion, legs up the wall, or supported shoulder stand. Active inversions like headstand, shoulders, handstand and whatnot. In the Hatha practice are more towards the active portion. So we'd like to take a passive inversion at this point in practice. So any posture, a twist, an inversion, a forward fold, that'll help you start to turn inward as we move towards rest in a moment. As my dogs snore in the background. All right, and then when you're ready, coming out of your posture, and we'll make our way towards Shavasana. So if you'd like to take that blanket roll that we did at the beginning of practice, a very low roll along the length of the back, feel free. Otherwise, traditional Shavasana with the knees bent or straight. And gather your items to keep you warm. Keep all of that good energy within or heat within the body to nourish the body and the nervous system here. All right, so as you're beginning to settle in, make any final adjustments you might need to feel fully supported and warm and comfortable. Gently close the eyes and begin to feel your body resting on your mat. You might visualize, sense, or see, or just know that the spine is there within the body. And with every exhale now, allowing the body to sink a little bit more deeply into the support of the earth, from the earth. So inhaling, feel that expansion across the front body. Exhale, the back body settles. Natural curves of the spine. And then allow your breath to come back to neutral. Let your breath just be at its natural pace. And allow the mind to move to the soles of the feet as you soften the feet from the inside out. Breath is easy. Soften around the ankles, the calves, and the shins. Each exhale, letting go a bit of tension. Soften behind the knees, the inner and outer thighs, the hamstrings, the front of the legs. Relax around the glutes and the hips, the low belly, where we've focused so much of our time today. With each inhale, the belly softens. And with each exhale, the belly, the ribs relax. Feel the gentle curve at the low back. The mid back, upper back sink into your mat. Allow the shoulders to become heavier. The arms, the forearms, the wrists, the backs of the hands, and out through the fingertips. Draw your attention back up the arms, into the front of the heart, softening around the heart space, the armpits, the front of the throat. Breath is easy. Gentle curve at the back of the neck. And allow your entire face to soften. Release your public face. Soften all the muscles around the eyes, the mouth, the front, sides, and back of your head. And then take in your entire body resting on your mat. And for the next 1 minute, allow the breath to be easy and feel as if the entire body is breathing. Stay here. begin to feel the weight of your body on your mat and within your practice space. And observe as the breath begins to deepen. Again, feeling, how is the body feeling today at this time? How is the breath moving in the body at the end of your practice? And what are the quality and the pace of your thoughts? As you begin to move, maybe running the thumbs across the tips of the fingers and wiggling the toes. And roll through the ankles and the wrists. Gently rock your head from side to side. Keep that inward focus, eyes closed or softly gazing. As you take a big stretch, making your way onto the side body when you're ready. And a soft breath in and out here, taking in the fullness of your practice, letting go of any expectation. We'll make our way to a nice tall seat, aligning the spine to honor your natural curves. And as you're ready, reach the arms wide and up overhead, taking in all the benefits of your practice and drawing the hands together at heart center. Bring gratitude for our practice together today, our minds and bodies, our breath moving together. And today, as you move forward, may all beings everywhere, including each of us, be happy and free. May our thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that happiness and freedom for all. May our world be just, and may we all find peace. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.
Thanks, Erica.